everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're finding me for the very first time, or if you are a returning viewer and have not yet done so, please click that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content right here on this channel. So I'm flying solo today. It's been a long week here at my day job. As I mentioned on our NFL recap show, me and Brandon were discussing the NFL on that show, and we were talking about how our job is requiring us to work some third shift overtime this week due to the fact that the company's a little behind on certain things. But that's okay. But unfortunately, that's meant that some of the content here on the channel has not been coming out as quickly as I'd like it to have been. So there's going to be some shows that didn't come out exactly on the days that the schedule at the top of the YouTube page indicates. So I apologize for that. It's kind of been a long week for me and Brandon both here, but I still wanted to put out some content here on the channel, and I wanted to put up our wrestling recap show where we discuss Smackdown, Raw, AEW Rampage, NXT, and of course this week AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. So let's get into that real quick, and hopefully next week we'll have Brandon back here on the wrestling recap show, and we'll hopefully get back to a normal schedule as well. All right, so let's start with the SmackDown recap here from last week. It opened up with a Roman Reigns segment. Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and the Usos made their way to the ring to start off SmackDown. They recapped Brock Lesnar's return last week and him challenging Roman Reigns. Lesnar claimed that Heyman knew he'd be at SummerSlam and went for the F5 on Heyman, but Reigns made the save. They also recapped Finn Balor's return as the Demon. Michael Cole pointed out that Reigns defends against Lesnar at Crown Jewel, but he might not be champion because he takes on Balor first at Extreme Rules. So I'm glad that at least they pointed that out, because earlier this week or whatever it was, they put out a picture on the internet promoting the Crown Jewel main event with Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, and it had Roman Reigns still wearing the belt in the image. Of course, you know, WWE did go so far into their press release and say, will he still be Universal Champion at the time? So at least that was good. A part of me, when I first saw the image, though, I'm like, did you have to show that image for this Crown Jewel main event before the Finn Balor pay-per-view? Because it almost telegraphs that Finn Balor is not going to win. Now, I think most people don't think Finn Balor is going to win the Universal title here, and the Demon's going to lose, thus ending the Demon's undefeated streak on the main roster, which me and Brandon both are like, why are you doing that? But at the same time, you got to promote your main event. I understand that too. So at least they made a point here to at least give some sort of believability that hopefully maybe Finn Balor could win the Universal title here, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. Reigns demanded that Knoxville acknowledge him, and the fans erupted in boos. Pat McAfee claimed there were a few cheers. Reigns told Heyman to educate the people on how to react to him. Heyman noted that he's known Reigns since he was a child, and he's in awe of the tribal chief. He said that Reigns takes on all challengers because he fears no man, no beast, and no demon. Heyman believes everyone fears Roman Reigns. He said Balor fears Reigns. That's why he brought back the Demon. Heyman knows Lesnar better than even his own family, and he saw fear in his eyes last week. Suddenly, Big E's music hit, so the now Raw WWE champion is now still on SmackDown. Now, once you win the WWE Championship, I would assume he's now a Raw talent. Now, he was a SmackDown talent, so for whatever reason, he shows up on SmackDown here. I think WWE's trying to get some ratings here, which I totally understand. With Monday Night Football and, you know, AEW winning in the demos and certain things like that, you can argue about why WWE is trying to boost their ratings. But in this case, they brought Big E here on SmackDown. The new WWE champion made his way to the ring. He ran around the ring and celebrated his title win, as he should. We're both me and Brandon here on the channel, both are happy that Big E won the WWE title. No doubt about it. He's definitely deserving of it. Me, I don't know about Brandon. I can't speak for him, but me personally, I just feel like maybe the timing of it wasn't the right time to go about it. I do believe they were planning on giving the title to Big E at some point. I felt like it was a little bit more rushed than maybe it could have been. I think you maybe could have saved it for Survivor Series or WrestleMania next year and made the moment even bigger than what it was. The hot shot booking of it, I didn't agree with. I felt that was just too soon because they were trying to pop a rating. Again, I understand that, but at the same time, if you want to make the moment special for Big E and you care about the character of Big E, you don't just push it for those reasons. You give it the proper treatment that it deserves, and you give it to him all in due time as you originally planned. You don't just go, all right, we got to do something. Let's do it now. That's not always the proper way to do long-term booking. But sometimes WWE's long-term booking is a little suspect as of late, which is why some fans have lost a little faith in them. But all things considered, I am glad that Big E does have the WWE Championship. He's, like I said, he's a deserving individual, and let's hope that they treat his reign as well as they can. The fans briefly chanted Big E before breaking into loud "You deserve it" chants. Reigns held up the Universal title and the fans booed, so we got a little bit of dueling championships here. Finn Balor's music hit, and he made his way to the ring. He didn't come out as the Demon, just as regular Finn Balor, though, and that led to a tag team match that opened up SmackDown. Big E and Finn Balor versus the Usos. Thankfully, this match went 11 minutes, so I'm glad to see a little time given to a match here. It seems like their main event matches and stuff on Raw and SmackDown, they give ample time to. It's everything from the lower card to the mid card they just give maybe 2 minutes to, and that's got to change. I know WWE is a sports entertainment company, and they like to give more time to their storytelling, as they call it. But if you do pro wrestling the right way, the best storytelling is told in the ring. It doesn't always have to be long 20-minute promos or backstage segments. I mean, those are all great, and they all have a place in professional wrestling, but they don't need to take up the majority of your wrestling show. The majority of your wrestling show should be pro wrestling. That's just my opinion. I know there's going to be people who don't agree with that, but as an old school wrestling fan who've been watching wrestling for 30 plus years now, I know Wrestling 101, and that's the best way to promote a storyline is to tell it in the ring. But this was a fun match and a good opener to SmackDown here. It ended up, Big E and Finn Balor gets the win here after Finn Balor hit a coup de grace on Jimmy Uso as Big E hit the big ending on Jay for the win. My only issue with it is you bring over the WWE Raw, or WWE champion from the Raw brand over to SmackDown really for no reason other than to maybe set up this feud with the Bloodline for Raw the following week, which again is like, why are we... It seems like Roman's in so many different programs right now. Like, he's got this thing going on with the New Day on Raw, and then he's got Finn Balor coming up at Extreme Rules, and then he's got Brock Lesnar. It's like, pick a lane, in my opinion. I love what they're doing with Roman Reigns, but I feel like if you ain't careful, you're going to overexpose Roman Reigns, and he's going to be on TV so much that the aura and the good stuff that's surrounding Roman right now and all the good work he's doing, fans are going to start to not care about it. And I don't want that to happen because, as I said, Roman, what he's doing right now is great. His character is amazing. The whole tribal chief gimmick that he's working on here has been absolutely top-notch. It's actually been the best thing in WWE, and I don't want to see it get watered down because he's on all these shows on Monday Night Raw this week included. So let's hope that they don't do that. I'd like to see them again, and even on SmackDown, it seems like it's the Roman Reigns show. Top to bottom, he's on multiple different segments. Pull it back a little bit. Less is more sometimes in pro wrestling, in my opinion. So Big E and Finn Balor, the only other thing about this that I have a problem with is they beat the SmackDown Tag Team Champions here. Two guys who've never really tagged together, to my knowledge, in recent memory anyway, Big E and Finn Balor. And granted, one of them is the WWE champion, and the other one is the number one contender for the Universal Championship. Whether you can argue whether or not he earned that or not is another debate. He did get some wins after he came back up from NXT, so you can argue that, I guess. But anytime you beat anytime you beat champions in general, again, it's not so much you can't beat champions, but the problem is WWE does it every single week where they beat their tag team champions, their women's tag team champions, the U.S. champion. Luckily, Damian Priest hasn't lost yet. But the only champion who really does not ever lose is Roman Reigns. And some of you are going to say, well, Big E don't lose. Yes, he does. We'll get to Monday Night Raw here in a little bit. At least Big E gets a good win here right off his title win. But at the same time, I don't like you beating the tag team champions because it makes the tag team titles look weaker. The more you do it, again, we could talk about AEW, and I had a discussion with someone on Twitter about, Kenny Omega loses in tag matches all the time, and he doesn't lose all the time. He lost in a tag match maybe twice, I think, and then he lost to Christian, which set up the world title shot. So again, it's not that you can't beat champions, it's that you can't beat them every single week. Let's take Tamina and Natalya, for example. They won the women's tag team championships, and I believe their entire reign, they won maybe 2 matches and got beat every single show outside of that. So it's like, it makes those titles look weaker. It makes your champions look weaker. And I don't want to see that happen to all these champions on Raw and SmackDown. But it's WWE's formula, especially it seems like whenever they want to set up title matches, the way to do that in their minds is to beat champions to set up the title match. And I don't think that's the way you should be building a proper championship match either. So I hate to see that here for the Usos here, but that's just kind of WWE's formula at this point, and I don't know what else to say about it otherwise. In the locker room backstage, Roman Reigns was not happy that his cousins did not win. He wanted an explanation as to why Brock Lesnar claimed Heyman knew he'd be at SummerSlam. So again, he goes from not being happy to that. It's just kind of quickly. Heyman believes Lesnar fears Roman Reigns, so he made up that lie. Reigns then asked if Lesnar would be at Extreme Rules, and Heyman quickly said no. Then Roman Reigns wondered, well, Paul, how do you know Lesnar won't be there? And Heyman just assumed. Reigns told him it's his job to find out. So I like the fact that Roman's kind of got this, he's not trusting Paul here. And even I'm not sure if Paul is playing Roman or not. I mean, I like this dynamic. This is the best part of this feud with Brock right now, because we've seen Brock versus Roman Reigns many times before. It's almost like, all right, here we go. And it's been a minute, but at the same time, it's like, we've seen it at WrestleManias. We've seen it at other pay-per-views where Roman and Brock have gone one-on-one. And most of the time, Paul was on Brock's side of things here. So it's nice to have this dynamic of Paul being in between them. I think that's a great wrinkle for this storyline. Other than that, I really don't have much interest in seeing Lesnar versus Roman again, but I'm interested to see how the Heyman thing shakes out. So that little wrinkle is keeping me invested. So good on WWE's part for having that little wrinkle in here. Next, we had a match it feels like we've kind of seen over and over again. This combination, whether it be Rick Boogs and King Nakamura versus Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler, some combination of the two, whether it be the full tag teams or singles matches. We've seen these guys go at it over and over and over again. Rick Boogs here goes one-on-one with Robert Roode. Less than 2 minutes, and Boogs wins here with a power slam that Michael Cole is now dubbing the Boogs Cruise. So I'm not sure I care for the signature name here of his finisher, but, good to see Rick Boogs get a win here. I just don't know where is this going? I mean, King Nakamura is the Intercontinental Champion. Great. Rick Boogs is getting some wins, so I guess that's a positive here. But Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler, they're here. I mean, where's this feud going? Like, that's the key with a lot of WWE's undercard stuff right now, or their midcard stuff. Their main event scene is usually pretty good. It's pretty intriguing, and the storylines are really good. But all the stuff underneath, it's like, where are we going with all this? I mean, there just seems to be no end to it. It's just rematch. 2 minutes, same outcome as like this week. Boogs win. Last week Boogs won, or the week before in a tag match, Boogs got the pinfall. Where is this going, and why are we continuing in if Boogs has beat these guys for weeks now? So it just doesn't have any substance to it. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see more with some more depth to the story, but it just seems like, all right, we're in a program and we're wrestling, and that's about all there is to it, and that's not good. The opening of the show was great with this main event scene, but this isn't good. So I can't say SmackDown's a good show because, and I know everybody wants to say, oh well, Raw was a great show because what they did with Big E winning the title, or Roman's great on SmackDown, so SmackDown's no. One good act or one good, if that would have been like saying Raw was good because Stone Cold Steve Austin was in a good segment. Great. But then you got the other garbage the rest of the show. That doesn't necessarily mean the show is good. You just remember the good stuff. The Attitude Era, you go back and watch some of the Attitude Era stuff, there's a lot of bad WWE television there. But yeah, I mean, you could say the main event's great, cool. But if you want to say the whole show is good, that's not true. And that's Rick Boogs stuff. As much as, I'm glad to see Rick Boogs getting into the ring. There for a while, all he was doing was playing with his guitar. Yeah, I'm glad to see him get a win here. But again, I just want to see where this is going. They're really not, it's just kind of, spinning the wheels, so to speak, just kind of running in place a little bit. After the match, Nakamura and Boogs celebrated with McAfee on the commentators' table. Suddenly, Commander Aziz and Apollo Crews jumped in their faces and beat them down. Crews claimed Nakamura made a mockery of the Intercontinental title and demanded a title shot. So at least it seems like they're moving Nakamura into another direction here with Apollo Crews. But again, Crews, his title run wasn't anything to write home about either. The problem WWE has right now is they've got to start building these undercard talents. They've got to start giving them some substance, some better storylines, instead of just throwing them out there and saying, all right, there you go, make it work. You gotta make us care about these wrestlers, and the more you make us care, the more the undercard is going to be watchable for a lot of fans. Next up, we had a match that was supposed to take place, Happy Corbin versus Kevin Owens. The match didn't end up happening because Corbin attacked Kevin Owens before the match. They recapped Corbin and Logan Paul's appearance on the KO show 2 weeks ago, because last week they just weren't on the show, the 9/11 memorial show. Megan Morant interviewed Kevin Owens behind the curtain. Owens is disappointed that he tried helping Happy Corbin out. He should have trusted his instincts. Owens promised to defeat Corbin next, but Corbin jumped Owens as he made his entrance. Corbin beat down Owens and threw him into the LED board around the ring. Owens tried to fight back, but Corbin gave Owens a chokeslam on the apron. So this feud must continue. A lot of talk right now about Kevin Owens and his potential contract maybe coming to an end here. I think they said at the end of January of 2022. And could he possibly be leaving the WWE brand? That's definitely possible here. Kevin Owens has kind of been another guy who's in the mid-card who doesn't have a whole lot to do right now. No major storyline. They're putting him in here with Happy Corbin, but this is mostly centered around the Happy Corbin character. Kevin Owens has been doing his talk show, but that's about all they've seemed to really come up for him. Kevin Owens is a guy who should be, main event level status, like he was when they brought him up from NXT, and then they stopped using him. They did that with a lot of guys. Nakamura was the same way. Sami Zayn's been in better programs than he's been in recently. A lot of these guys are just kind of spinning their wheels, like I said. So hopefully WWE will start using these undercard talent, and that way you can build them properly, make them important in the mid card, and then that way when you need somebody for the main event card, like when you go through some of the challengers, like Roman Reigns is having a hard time finding some challengers right now for his title, you'll have somebody ready to elevate. Right now they're not doing anything with these guys, so when it comes time to put them in the main event, no one cares. So that's when you got to call back your Goldbergs or your Lesnars or these guys that are part timers, because they've at least been built up, but 20 years ago they might have been built up. But lately, the WWE just has a hard time building new talents. It's like they call them up from NXT or whatever, and then they just stop, and it's like we can't get them up to that point. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully they'll do some more here with Corbin and Owens. But both guys have kind of just been. I mean, I'm happy for the Happy Corbin character, no pun intended. I do like what he's been doing with that character. Especially some of the stuff he put on social media when he won the money from Las Vegas and things like that. So I'd like to see them kind of highlight more of Happy Corbin. And hopefully, if as long as he keeps it entertaining it like he has been so far, it's a character worth getting invested in. So hopefully they'll do something with him this time. We'll see what happens. They showed a video of Bianca Belair returning to the University of Knoxville and her career highlights. The fans popped huge for Bianca. In the back, Caleb Braxton startled Paul Heyman when she approached him, which is something that it's kind of a shtick they've been doing for weeks there. Caleb Braxton heard rumors that Brock Lesnar might be on his way to Raw in the upcoming draft. Heyman was furious and started yelling at Braxton to stop bothering him and flirting with him. Heyman turned around and ran into Big E. Heyman pointed out that Big E chose not to cash in on Reigns, but an injured Bobby Lashley instead, which is another weird thing because Bobby Lashley hurt himself, so to speak, putting somebody through a table, and it just kind of like, it was a little weird. Heyman believes that Big E knew he couldn't beat Roman Reigns. Big E noted they'd find out when he takes on his boy at Survivor Series. So is that official? Apparently it looks like Big E versus Roman Reigns at Survivor Series may be on the docket. If that's the case, I understand why you booked the thing on Raw a little more. But again, it's almost like Survivor Series is still like 2 months away. So it's interesting. I mean, and I'm glad they're thinking longer term if that's the case. No doubt about that. I just feel like, again, they've got Roman in 3 or 4 different directions right now. And it's like one at a time here. But we'll get there, hopefully. Big E wondered if Heyman's boy is Reigns or Lesnar. He pointed out that Balor could spoil Heyman's plans. So suddenly the Usos jumped Big E and gave him a vicious beatdown. Roman Reigns showed up and left with his cousin. So again, this is all leading toward what they did on Monday Night Raw. So at least they built it a little bit on SmackDown. It was only 2 days' notice, and they gave away these 2 big major matches on Monday Night Raw. One they set up here on SmackDown for 2 days later, and then one they set up during the show on Monday. Again, no build necessarily. To these 2 matches could have been used at Survivor Series or a big pay-per-view. So it just feels like their foresight here is only about maybe a show in advance, and then they're not thinking about, hey, we could build this for weeks and get a lot more payoff for it at an upcoming pay-per-view. But again, they were trying to pop ratings here, and I think that's what they were trying to do. Next, we had a Seth Rollins segment. They recapped Rollins injuring Edge last week with the stomp. Rollins made his way to the ring in a flashy suit. Rollins watched the whole Big E and Heyman segment from the ring and said it was unfortunate nobody helped Big E. Well, because his buddies are on Raw. That's partially why. Rollins turned his attention to Edge. He said last week was one of the best matches of his career. No doubt about that. Edge and Rollins had a great match last week. Rollins claimed he heard a pop after he hit the stomp on Edge. The fans broke into a loud "You look stupid" chant, which they're not wrong. Some of his drip stuff he's doing it better than Johnny drip on Raw, but a lot of it is ridiculous for sure. Rollins showed highlights from last week's match. Rollins was furious that everyone thought he went too far last week. He asked the fans if he went too far, and they cheered. Rollins noted he used a legal move that he used many times to win matches. Rollins blamed the fans for him injuring Edge. So here we get another heel blaming the fans. I know it's kind of a heel shtick, but at the same time, it feels like that's all heels do in WWE. There's other ways to be heelish than blame the fans. He said they goaded Edge into feuding with Rollins. Rollins recapped all the things that Edge did to him, including beating him at SummerSlam. He added that he's not finished with Edge yet because clearly this must continue whenever Edge does come back. Rollins pointed out that on NXT, Beth Phoenix said Edge is at home recovering. Rollins wondered if Edge was physically and mentally capable of returning to the ring. He saw fear in Edge's eyes as he was on the stretcher. Rollins felt sympathy for Edge, and it's been eating away at him. Rollins promised to finish Edge. That was that. I guess this is... So now that Edge is going to be gone, the reports were saying probably until 2022 in January or so, maybe Royal Rumble time. So what's Seth Rollins doing now? Is he going to challenge Roman Reigns? You could do that. I don't know exactly where they're going with Rollins now. Are they just going to have him cut promos on Edge till January? Again, tell me where Seth's going here. And I'm sure we'll hopefully get to it, so I'm not going to hurt this too much for that. But, it's just kind of like, all right, at least you followed up on the match from last week. Now let us know what Seth Rollins will be doing next. In the back, Kayla Braxton interviewed Becky Lynch. The fans gave her a mixed reaction. Lynch said tonight is Belair's night, but pointed out that she's never been to a homecoming. She might check out Belair's homecoming later tonight. So, setting up that main event segment. Liv Morgan and Toni Storm defeated Carmella and Zelina Vega via countout in 2 minutes. Again, 2-minute match, undercard match. Liv Morgan and Toni Storm, we haven't really seen much. So it's like, give us more of these two. We need to see more. It wasn't a very good match. Had a very weak ending with the count out here. And the 2 minutes, obviously, again, we need matches that last a little bit longer here. Carmella rolled to the floor, started screaming that Morgan broke her nose at one point here. Vega ran over to check on Carmella, and the referee counted her out. So I guess they're playing up the Carmella. Again, it's kind of like, WWE did this thing on NXT where Mandy Rose got kicked in the face by Saray. And now she was wearing a mask for about a week, and now she's changed her hair. She broke her nose, blah, blah. Sheamus hurt his nose and is still wearing a face guard for his nose until this last week he took it off and got broken again. So it's like, and now we've got another person here with a broken nose. It's like we're repeating the same storyline here over and over and over again. Just rinse, repeat, that sort of thing. I get with Carmella here, because she's going to be worried about whether or not she is still the hottest woman in WWE. So there is that. But at the same time, it's like, come up with something different here. You're just copying different brands. People do watch all three of your shows. You know that, right? So they're going to pick up on that. But that's just my opinion. If you enjoy this, kudos to you here. But this wasn't good in my opinion. After the match, Morgan said she's tired of Carmella running away and demanded a match at Extreme Rules. Great, at least Liv Morgan. Hopefully we'll get a win there. Let's hope. The fans did pop when Morgan bragged about breaking Carmella's nose, so some of you still enjoy it. Some of the stuff WWE does is just, it's not real good, but that's just my opinion. I'm trying not to be a downer on it. I want to give them credit where it's due, no doubt about it. I still want to do that because I like WWE. I grew up on WWE, so I want to give them credit. I just want to see them do better storytelling and booking instead of what they've been doing lately. We just want the company to be better here on the channel. In the back, the Street Profits are excited to be in Knoxville. They discussed Bianca Belair's homecoming and the after party. They weren't happy with the Usos jumping Big E earlier and promised to win the tag titles. Didn't you just have a match with them and lose? if I remember correctly. So yeah, again, are we going to just rinse and repeat, rematch again with the Street Profits? You lost your opportunity. Well, granted, Roman got involved. I ain't gonna lie, Roman kind of took that victory from them. So I guess you could play off that, sure. But again, you don't need to book matches if you're not going to pay them off. There's a difference between what WWE did with the Street Profits and the Usos, where Roman got involved, and now we're just going to do it again, compared to what happened with Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson on AEW. They plan that out to be a draw, so you would want to see more. Here Roman got involved. I guess you could argue it's kind of similar, but to me, one is better than the other. One wasn't a title match, first of all. This one was a title match. It's like, all right, well, we already saw the title match. I don't know. To me, there's a difference there. In the trainer's room, Carmella revealed that her nose is fine and she's still the most beautiful woman in the WWE. She accepted Liv Morgan's challenge, but Morgan has to take on Vega first. So I guess we'll get that probably next week, I'm guessing. Well, no, because Extreme Rules is this week. So I guess probably by the end of the night. Well, no, it didn't happen here. So I don't know where that's going to happen. Probably this Friday night on Smackdown before the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. That's where it's going to happen. Then we had the saga of the Demon. Finn Balor noted everyone asks about the Demon's story. Balor pointed out that he doesn't come from a famous family or a bloodline. He was born into a family of coal miners and had to claw his way to the top. The Demon is within and summons him. He doesn't call the demon, but it calls him. The fire isn't just within him, but is all around him. At Extreme Rules, Reigns comes face to face with the Demon. Suddenly, Balor's face turned into the Demon. So this kind of feels like WWE scripting promo type deal here with the certain terminology. It summons me and all this stuff. It just comes off as fake because nobody talks like that. But at the same time, I'm glad they're doing something with Finn. It's unfortunate that it's just going to end up him with a loss, unfortunately. They announced Roman Reigns and the Usos versus Big E and the New Day this coming on Monday night on Raw. Like I said, you could have maybe built that up a little bit more than a one show to pop a Raw rating, because Raw has been struggling a bit in the ratings. SmackDown has been the better show in that regard. Again, you can argue whether it's NFL football or AEW that's causing them to have that slump in ratings. But at least we do want to see WWE put in more of an effort to get their shows better, regardless of whatever the reason might be as to why they're putting in more of that effort. So at least in that regard, I'm glad to see them trying something different. Let's see if it pays off for them in the long run here. But a lot of times, hotshot booking matches like this without proper build does not pay off in the long term. Maybe for 1 week, but then the next week you got to come up with another hot shot, and at some point you run out of hot shot matches to just book here. So I just don't know if it's the right call. You're better off to stick to your plan and do what you planned out over the long term, and fans will appreciate you for that. In the back, Naomi approached Sonya Deville and demanded a match. Seems like she's been doing this for weeks now. Deville said there isn't any time left tonight. There never has been, because you've been blowing her off. Naomi doesn't know what Deville's problem is with her. Naomi pointed out that she's accomplished more than Sonya and got in her face. She promised to get her match. Later, Michael Cole announced that management fined Naomi for her confrontation with Sonya Deville. So is this leading to Naomi versus Deville? Personally, if it was me booking this, I would put Naomi with the bloodline, because she is married to one of the Usos. I don't remember which one exactly. I think it's Jimmy. I don't remember. I think it's Jimmy. But anyway, that's what I would do, because it's like, all right, she's not getting her attention that she feels like she's owed here, and what better way than to get the attention, but then to align with the biggest faction in the company right now, and be part of the bloodline here. That would make the most sense to me. So we'll see if that happens, or if they just kind of go Naomi versus Sonya. I don't know if they're going to tease a Sonya return to the ring or not, but they're definitely setting up something here between the two. Sami Zayn defeated Dominic Mysterio. This was at least 6 minutes long, but again, this is a match that we've been seeing for weeks now, whether it be Sami Zayn versus Rey, Sami Zayn versus Dominic, whatever it may be, and Sami Zayn's been beating Dominic for weeks, and it's all because Dominic doesn't want to listen to Rey Mysterio. So it's all building up to Rey Mysterio and Dominic going splitsies and taking going their separate ways, probably because Dominic's probably going to turn on Rey, because he's frustrated and he's young, he's headstrong, but at the same time lacks experience. So we'll see what they do here. But, so after the match, Zayn told Rey that Dominic wasn't on his level. And he's probably right about that right now, because Dominic is still young and still learning. So Unfortunately, it's going to end up in a breakup. And a father-son match would be intriguing, no doubt about it, if built properly. And I'll give them credit. At least this is a slow build, but we've been doing this exact same match with the exact same finish for weeks now. Maybe try something a little bit different to move this storyline forward. But all things considered, I'm glad they're doing some long-term booking with it. They aired a commercial for the upcoming draft. They then announced matches for next week, and Michael Cole claimed it might be the last time these matches take place. Yeah, I doubt that. To be honest, if you're going to be moving Roman Reigns over to Raw anyway, in my opinion, end the brand split. Just scrap this draft this year and just merge both shows. And then people will be like, oh, well, then you're going to have the same matches on each show each week. Like we don't already. On the Raw brand, we're getting rematches. On the SmackDown brand, we're getting rematches. And not only that, if you do it properly, you don't have to have everybody on every single show. Roman Reigns doesn't have to be on Raw and SmackDown each week, but having the option to do so is good. Just look at AEW. AEW has this full talented roster, but this week alone, we didn't see big names like the Lucha Brothers. We didn't see Sammy Guevara on Dynamite, but they're going to be on the Rampage show or something. So you can do it to where everybody's not on every single show, but they're on each week, just on different, and then you can share them between USA and Fox and keep both cable companies happy that way. That way you don't have some friction there with them, which has been the reports here of late. To me, it just makes more sense. Then you get rid of one of the world titles, get rid of one of the women's titles, get rid of one of the tag titles. You can consolidate all this stuff. You've got too many belts. There's a lot of things that WWE could fix, in my opinion, by merging the divisions, but that's just my opinion. They're probably not going to take that suggestion because they've got a draft coming up, but anyhow. Bianca Belair then had her homecoming. This was a pretty good segment, but had the predictable ending of the hometown hero getting beat down because that's what WWE does. Because God forbid, novel concept, the hometown hero actually gets a win and actually goes out on top and makes the fans happy, but we can't do that here. The mayor of Knox County, Glenn Kane Jacobs, yes, Kane himself, made his way to the ring to a big pop here in the state. The ring had a red carpet, balloons, and Belair's picture around ringside for the celebration. Kane then introduced Belair to a big reaction as well. The fans erupted into an EST chant. They showed Belair's family at ringside. Belair noted she loves Knoxville and pointed out her father. She admitted that Becky Lynch beat her for the title, but she will win it back at Extreme Rules. Not likely, but we'll see. Kane told Belair to come back to Knoxville and celebrate when she regains the title. Kane then presented Belair with a key to the city. Belair said she's proud of Knoxville and sang Rocky Top with the fans. Becky Lynch's music then hit, and she walked to the ring. She was dressed in this interesting yellow jacket with no back, and it was interesting looking. Lynch mocked Belair and noted she doesn't have a key to the city, but is the SmackDown Women's Champion. Lynch doesn't want to steal Belair's spotlight and wants a handshake. Belair hesitated, but then shook Lynch's hand. Isn't that what got you to lose the belt at SummerSlam? But anyway, Belair wouldn't let go and tried to hit the kiss of death, or the KOD. Lynch slipped out of the back and hit the manhandle slam to thunderous boos. But again, that's exactly how you lost at SummerSlam. Belair quickly recovered but sold the slam. Lynch left the ring and posed on the stage with the belt to inspect it. So I get that's what they were going for here by, showing, okay, you fell for it again, Becky, or Bianca, I mean. So it's like, why were you dumb enough to fall for it again? But at least they're trying to show you that Lynch is making a point here. I can beat you the exact same way I did at SummerSlam still. So I get what they're doing there. At the same time, it's like Bianca looked like a total idiot here. Like, why would you fall for that? But anyhow, I guess that's what happened there. All right, so let's move on to Rampage here. I'll try to go through some of these shows a little quicker here since we got a lot to go through here. Rampage opened up with a tag team championship match. The Lucha Brothers defeated the Butcher and the Blade. I thought this was a really fun match. The Butcher and the Blade, in my opinion, are very underrated, but they've got a good future here, in my opinion. Penta superkicked Butcher and Blade while covering his face. Oh, yeah, because they tied Penta's mask up to the corner, and he was trying to help Rey Fenix out a little bit. He couldn't get away because his mask was tied, so he untied his mask and took his mask off, covering his face, to hide his face. He kicked Butcher and Blade while covering his face up to save Phoenix, and Phoenix rolled up Blade with a Rana for the pin. So it was a great finish, I thought. Very creative the way they did that with the mask. So definitely a fun match and a good opener for a Rampage show. After the match, members of the Hardy family office ran in to attack the Lucha Brothers, but Santana and Ortiz ran in to make the save, chasing away the heels. So, looks like we're going to probably be getting Santana and Ortiz versus the Lucha Brothers at some point, but a mutual respect thing between the two teams. I definitely like that as well. Short video package from comments with Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson played. Omega called Danielson the underdog and pointed out that he was unranked and doesn't think Bryan's underdog story will have a happy ending this time. Bryan Danielson is ready to show everyone the real Bryan Danielson, which will be fun for fans and scary as hell for the wrestlers. Just a quick minute package to hype up Wednesday's show. So again, nothing wrong with that, and I'm glad they mentioned the fact that Bryan Danielson hasn't done anything to earn a title match yet, so that's good. This is non-title, so I like how they bill it as that, and then the way they ended it, I thought it did good. Then now you can start to build Daniel back up to get back to Kenny Omega. So I like where they're taking this. That's called long-term booking and long-term storytelling, and in my opinion, the way you should book pro wrestling. And this is not me picking AEW over WWE. If WWE was doing the same thing, I would say they're doing a good job with it as well. AEW is just the one doing it right now, okay? So don't misconstrue it. Then we had Anna Jay defeated the Bunny at about 4 minutes. This wasn't anything, spectacular to me personally. But again, nothing against these two women. They worked very, very hard, no doubt about it here. Penelope Ford tried to interfere. Ty Conti attacked her. This distracted the Bunny, and Jay rolled her up for the pinfall. After the match, Penelope Ford and Bunny attacked Anna Jay and Ty Conti with brass knuckles, knocking them out. So definitely setting up maybe a tag team match going forward here, I guess, between these two teams here or whatnot. So we'll see if they follow through with that. I'm sure they will. Clips from Powerhouse Hobbs attacking CM Punk on the Wednesday prior, trying to put him through an announce table, and the announce table didn't break, that sort of thing. So we'll be getting that match on Rampage Grand Slam coming up here on Friday night. Tony Schiavone interviewed Matt Hardy, who is 0-2 on the night so far. There was an Orange Cassidy lookalike at ringside. Jack Evans and Hardy attacked the fan and drug him into the ring. This was an obvious plant. Hardy gave him the twist of fate, and Evans began to shave the lookalike's head. They even cut off his ponytail, I believe. The attack brought out Orange Cassidy, who chased off Hardy and Evans. So they're setting up Orange versus Hardy. Again, a feud I'm not super keen on. Orange Cassidy obviously will probably get the win there, but at the same time, it's like I don't know if we necessarily need this, but they're going to do it, so we'll see when they end up pulling that trigger. Ruby Soho and Britt Baker go face-to-face. This was actually really incredible. Both these two did a good job. It was almost like a battle rap. They were going back and forth at each other with their promos, and it was really good. Tony Schiavone brought Soho and Baker to the ring. Welcome to some TV time, Ruby, is what Baker started out with, which was a good little jab at her time at WWE. Baker predictably ran down Soho and made fun of her name change and tattoos. No one knows who Ruby is, but everyone knows Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. At that point, I lost my signal for a minute. The article apparently lost their feed. But when I got back to Soho and Baker, looks like every other girl she's ever faced, that is banging some dude in the back. So that was a great line that Ruby Soho told Britt Baker, that you're just like everybody else. You got a dude you're banging in the back. And, of course, a reference to Adam Cole, who Britt Baker is with. And when she said that, Britt Baker's like, yeah, I do. She didn't try to fight it or nothing, so she just let it roll. That got a pop from the crowd. Baker then retorted. Ruby didn't run away from anything. She got fired. So, again, poking fun at her previous employer. More Ruby Soho's career with her previous employer than it is the employer itself. That's the best thing ever to happen to Soho, she said, though. But Baker can't see that because Britt's head is so far up Tony Khan's. Whoa, right up your, So Soho promised to take Baker's belt next Wednesday. Baker took a swing at Soho with the belt, but Soho ducked and took Baker down, and Soho stood tall with Baker's championship belt. So this kind of telegraphed a little bit of the ending here, where Soho stood tall. Usually that's the opposite on a go-home segment going into the pay-per-view or whatever the show is coming up. So they maybe telegraphed it a little bit there, but that's kind of WWE. It's not necessarily WWE booking. It's just wrestling in general booking a little bit, the way you do go-home segments. So sometimes it ends up being the opposite, but not always. Very excellent promo segment between the two girls, no doubt about it. Mark Henry face-to-face promo with Miro and Fuego del Sol. That was not nearly as good as the Soho Baker segment because that was kind of hard to follow. But John Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer was made official in a lights-out match at Rampage Grand Slam. Lucha Brothers, Santana Ortiz versus Private Party and the Butcher and the Blade in a match between Penelope Ford and Anna Jade was also made official for Friday. TNT champion Miro then defeated Fuego del Sol to retain his TNT championship here, and he won Fuego del Sol's car, who Fuego put on the line here. It was about a 9-minute match, so again, longer match, good there. I prefer to see longer matches telling a story here. Fuego did get some offense in here again, so kind of, put Miro on the ropes a little bit there, but a pair of super kicks got Miro the pin, and a sensibly priced mid-sized used car, so he's going to have that as well. After the match, Miro got the keys to the car from the referee, which were on a lanyard because Del Sol is kind of a geek. Miro stuffed the keys in Del Sol's mouth and put Del Sol in the game over camel clutch. That brought out Sammy Guevara, who is Del Sol's close friend, to chase Miro away, who left the TNT Championship belt behind in the ring. So Sammy Guevara held up the belt, signaling he wants a shot at Miro and the TNT title. And, of course, they made that match official for next week's Dynamite now on this after this show. So it'll be on the Dynamite following the Grand Slam stuff. So that'll be a fun match. I can't wait to see that. And I would not be surprised if they put the belt on Sammy Guevara. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. All right, Monday Night Raw here. So yeah, the show opened up with the New Day, and the Big E did the introduction for the reunited New Day here for the first time in many months, introducing Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston individually before introducing himself as the new WWE champion. Big E got a very nice reaction and a "You deserve it" chant, and he took a few moments to soak it in. Big E thanked every fan who New Day rocks, and even the fans who once chanted "New Day sucks." He thanked those who cheered when he won the Money in the Bank contract and was grateful for the fans who lost their minds when he became the new champion. He was thankful for everyone, especially one person in particular, watching from the heavens. And, of course, many fans got this reference to the late, great, and always remembered Brody Lee, who was a great friend to many of the talent in the locker room, and Big E in particular. So this was a nice little moment here. I'm glad Big E included this. This was awesome. Big E said they'd have to cut their celebration short, though, because they had business tonight against the Usos and Roman Reigns, whose name did get a big reaction. So, like it or not, Roman Reigns is definitely over, so that's good. WWE's probably happy to see that finally. He said Raw was their show, and they'd send the bloodline packing because New Day rocks. So, yeah. Reigns and the Usos then entered. Reigns held his belt up high, and Big E responded by doing the same. The crowd was definitely into this, so they seem to have a money match set up here with Big E versus Roman, and if they follow through with it at Survivor Series, good on them for that, no doubt about it. But then this set up the 6-man tag where they went for 13 minutes. So, again, they gave them long time between the main event segments here, but the mid-card stuff, not so much. That's when Universal Champion Roman Reigns and the Usos defeated the New Day here. Jimmy Uso tried to get involved, so Kingston wiped out both Usos with a dive. This allowed Reigns to knock down Big E with a Superman punch. Woods and Reigns had an exchange that led to Woods hitting a super kick for a near fall. Lashley sprinted out to the ring and speared Big E on the outside right in front of the official. And he attacked Kofi Kingston, laid him out by posting him on the ring post as well, and the official just watched this. So to me, it's like people want to get on to AEW's referees and things sometimes. Where was the disqualification here? I'm sorry, but this was the official was standing in the ring with his hands like this, like, dude, you got the ability to call for the disqualification here, but apparently that was not the finish or something. I don't know what happened here, but not good. It was not a good look here. Lashley just gets away with the interfering in this match. So he laid out the Usos as well. So Lashley's just mad at everybody for losing his belt. Rightfully so. At least he didn't come out, happy and smiling like nothing happened. So that's a good thing. Woods was distracted by all this. So Reigns hit a spear for the pinfall win. So first of all, we got Roman Reigns. Obviously, if he's going to be booked in a match right now, Roman Reigns should get the win. No doubt about it. But my bigger issue is, why did you book this? Because, yes, the Usos, the tag team champions, great. They got a win here. But Big E has been a champion for a week. Yes, he did not take the pinfall here, but he still lost in this match. So now you've got the WWE champion losing. You can say he didn't take the pin all you want, fine, but he still was on the losing team, and he loses again by the end of this show. So we've got him losing twice on one show within a week of him winning the belt. Not good. You can't do that with your champions, especially one who just got crowned. That was not good. This never should have been booked. If you were going to book this for a pay-per-view, fine, but... And I get, I don't like crappy finishes either, but this would have been a perfect place to put a DQ. for Bobby Lashley. So that would have made some sense, actually, for once, to do DQ or a count out. But yeah, so I wasn't a fan of this just from that alone. But good match, all things considered. All these guys are great, no doubt about it. I love all these talents. I just feel like the booking here was a little on the short end of the stick. So yeah. After a break, Lashley complained to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville about Big E cashing in last week while he was hurt. Lashley claimed he could beat Big E or Reigns any day of the week. It was still the Almighty Era and that it wasn't about to end. So they all stared at each other as the segment ended. Awkward silence. Randy Orton versus AJ Styles was announced for tonight. They also mentioned MVP breaking a rib thanks to Randy Orton's RKO last week. So I guess we're not going to get MVP and Bobby Lashley, who earned another shot at the Raw tag team titles here. I guess we're not going to get that anymore, which, to be honest, we saw it once. They lost. I don't know why they earned another shot to begin with. But I guess we're just not going to follow through on that. Again, it's their booking that then they change it to, now it's Orton versus Bobby 1-on-1, which led to Big E's cash in. So again, there's no consistency what they're booking here. They change it on the fly every week, which is why some people are just over it at this point. Riddle approached Orton in the locker room. Riddle rambled about something until Orton asked him if he was confusing a movie with real life. Orton told Riddle to keep an eye on Omos while he breaks a few of Styles' ribs. Orton thanked Riddle for getting him new headphones, because I'm sure Orton's like, I just listen to these to shut him up. Riddle had a matching pair. He put them on and sang Orton's theme music. You can imagine Orton's reaction to this. Yikes. Riddle is definitely annoying in my opinion. I think Riddle's a great wrestler, but this gimmick is, I get it's kind of RVD-esque, but even RVD wasn't this corny, I don't think. I don't recall that. He was pretty corny, but at the same time, I don't know. Something about Riddle's just not working for me. Probably because WWE does this stuff too much. If Riddle was the only one occasionally making some corny jokes, fine, but we've got 24/7 title segments and dolls, and we got weird stuff all throughout, top to bottom on a 3-hour show. I don't want to sit and watch it. I want to see a little more seriousness in my pro wrestling sometimes. It doesn't all have to be serious, absolutely, but sometimes, again, it's about moderation. You do things too much, it can be a detriment. So next we had, speaking of, by the way, Orton versus AJ Styles again, another rematch we've seen countless times on Monday Night Raw. I get it, with MVP out and you can't do the tag team title match against MVP and Lashley. You got to have somebody, and AJ and Omos is your next ranked tag team that you beat for the titles, and you've got no other challengers. I get it, but again, that just goes back to the original point here. You're not building up these other tag teams, and you had a gauntlet to do that with a few weeks ago, and you kind of screwed the pooch on that one. You could have built the Viking Raiders or any of these other teams to get a title match here, but you didn't want to do that, so here we are. You had to get Lashley and MVP, and now MVP's out, and regardless of whether that was planned or a new injury or whatever it might be, now you got to change, and you've got nobody else to fall back on, and it's a shame. Eva Marie grabbed a mic. She said she wasn't into shaming or negativity, but asked the crowd to take a look at her before taking a look at Doudrop. So you're not into shaming, but you immediately start to shame Doudrop. You could say you weren't, you were. That's exactly what you're doing. And maybe that's the heel gimmick here a little bit, but at the same time, it's because a lot of people feel like it's because WWE doesn't want to do that shaming stuff, but they still want to do it because obviously, the negative connotations in our culture today, they would look down upon that. Because the stuff they used to do back in the day, I just watched a clip this week on Facebook where Vince McMahon was having Trish Stratus apologized to him in the ring, got her walking on all fours like a dog, barking and then stripping for him in the ring. You do that sort of thing nowadays, it's not going to fly, but I think WWE kind of still wants to do it, but they want to act like they don't want to do it. So you know what I'm saying? So it's very awkward because their mentality is still kind of what it once was, and it's not going to work in today's society, unfortunately. Eva Marie was well put together while Doudrop was a mess, she said. The crowd cheered Doudrop, who was unbothered by Marie's comments again. So we had Doudrop versus Eva Marie again. I'm glad they finally gave us the match a few weeks ago, but Doudrop squashed her then. She squashes her now. It only lasted a little over a minute. So again, mid-card matches are too short. You can't build stuff like this. It's no one's going to care because it doesn't last long enough to care, and then you don't do anything new and creative with it. Eva Marie tried avoiding Doudrop, but Doudrop gave her a senton before hitting a running crossbody for the quick pin. So that was that. Moving on, a pissed-off Big E marched into the office of Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce. He demanded a match with Lashley and Reigns. So we've got two people now wanting this. Raleigh appears to be on the list of banned words. The announcers are only calling it North Carolina State. So that's interesting enough to note there as well. I don't know why that would matter, but anyhow. Paul Heyman approached Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce to complain about Big E. Heyman and Pearce began arguing with Deville until Deville informed Heyman that there would be a triple threat match between Reigns, Big E, and Lashley tonight. The crowd cheered. Heyman seemed fine with this. Of course the crowd cheered because they're getting a pay-per-view level match in front of them at a live event. Great. But again, no build other than this opening segment here. It's hot shot booking. It really is. And to be honest, who do you beat here? You booked yourself into a corner to where Lashley, Big E, or Reigns has to take a loss. You can't do a DQ because it's triple threat. You can't do, I don't know if there's really a count out of triple threats, but there might be. But no, I don't think there is. I think it's no rules basically. So yeah, I mean it's kind of like somebody's got to lose here, and I would hope you don't beat either one of your champions, and they didn't. But at the same time, well, they did beat Big E. That's the thing. They didn't pin him. They pinned Lashley here, but. Yeah, they still beat Big E. So and I get you're not going to beat Roman. You shouldn't be beating Big E. You shouldn't be beating Lashley either. But so in my head, don't book this to begin with. But they did because again, they put the big match at the beginning of the show. They tease you that there's going to be a big one at the end of the show. They want you to stick around and watch it so they get ratings, which I understand from a business side of things. You want to promote your show and make it the best it possibly can be. But you've got to think long-term more than just this week, and that's something the WWE is not doing right now, and it's a shame. Then we had the Raw Tag Team Champion Randy Orton defeated AJ Styles. At least this match did have a longer match here because both these guys can go. A lot of times I think they do these short matches because they feel like some of the wrestlers are not up to snuff, but these two guys could definitely go well. About 15 minutes here. Styles set up a phenomenal forearm, but was momentarily distracted. There was a spot in here, too. This part here, Styles set up for it again, but stopped when he saw Orton set up for a midair RKO off the springboard, and they both stopped and pulled the Spider-Man, meme where they're both pointing at each other like, I knew you were going to do that. I got you. I was going to get you. So that was pretty clever. I liked that part there. Orton caught Styles anyway, though, with a draping DDT and an RKO for the pinfall win. Strong match. Interesting creative finish there with the pointing, and they're like, I would have had you, but then Orton just kind of pulls him in and hits him with stuff anyway. I like that, though, no doubt about it. But again, it's just two guys we've seen too many times here. We got to get these. AJ Styles should be feuding with Big E, should be, feuding with Lashley. Orton should be doing the same, for the most part as well. And the Riddle stuff, I get it's over right now. You follow through with that, but then eventually I would hope Orton turns on Riddle and sets up that singles feud too. Shayna Baszler defeated Nia Jax in 2 minutes here. Again, very quick. Hopefully this is over now. The match began with an argument over who was better. Jax was briefly in control until Baszler hit a series of kicks. Baszler tried the Kirifuda clutch, but she couldn't quite keep it locked in. She managed to lock it in, and Jax tried to counter by falling back on top of her. However, Baszler held onto the submission, and Jax passed out, so Shayna Baszler wins here. Finally, Shayna Baszler gets a win since January of this year. That's the first win she's had in, 9 months. I mean, why is this so hard? I don't understand. But anyway, I'm glad Shayna gets a win here. Hopefully now she will find that killer instinct again, get her back on track, get her back, build her to where she's back into the women's title contention here. That's where she should be. She should be a killer, not stuck in this tag feud here. After the match, Baszler contemplated what to do before deciding to attack Jax again. Baszler squeezed Jax's hand into a gap in the steel steps and stomped on it. She held Jax's arm against the steps before stomping on it. Baszler seemed to be doubting her own actions as officials checked on Jax. And Nia Jax was crying here, if I remember correctly. It looked like they were trying to set up Nia Jax as a sympathetic babyface. No one's going to care about her. I hate to tell you. If you're trying to do a babyface run with Nia Jax, no one's going to give two craps about her. So don't even try it. But because, again, it's kind of like Happy Corbin when he was all sad and depressed. Why should we care when all you've been is a total douche? I mean, we don't care about Nia Jax. She's been, this, heartless human being a little bit. A lot of times, doing things to get her own way against Shayna, holding Shayna back, who fans like, by the way. So I don't know. Hopefully they don't make Shayna Baszler the heel here. Hopefully it's just her being frustrated. It should be the other way around. Shayna should be the baby. Nia should be the heel. and they both need to go their separate ways. Don't break them up and bring them back together like you did before. End this, please. I'm begging you. Before the upcoming match, Byron Saxton acknowledged that Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo were usually at odds. The two men did a pre-match promo where they basically said they'd be better off together. So at least they took two people and made a tag team that was believable. If what I understand, they're real-life relatives. I don't know the exact relation. So in that case, great. Carrillo and Garza have got something to do. I'll praise them for that. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, it makes sense. They kind of look like the new version of the Colognes to me. But at least they're doing something with the two. And it's not like Riddle and Orton, two polar opposites they just throw together. These two guys look like they could be a legit tag team. And I got no problem with that. That's all I ask out of my tag team wrestling. I want two guys who look like a tag team. And it just feels like it's natural. Not just two guys, two singles they throw together and go, all right, you're a team now. Don't like that. I never have. After Garza launched Mustafa Ali and Mansoor is who they're wrestling here. 2-minute match. Garza launched Ali into the ring post. Carrillo applied a submission while Garza drop kicked him in the head. That was enough for Carrillo to cover Ali for the pinfall win. So it looks like they're going to be a little bit of a heel team here, but at the same time, good. I'm glad they're a tag team, and hopefully that'll work. Mustafa Ali and Mansoor. Not really sure where they're going to go with this in the long run here, but at least, again, two people who I can buy as a team, so that's good, but we'll see what happens with these two sets of teams here. They did a video of a Karrion Kross package. Well, nothing much there. Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley entered. For Nikki's entrance, they added a bat signal effect with her name in the spotlight. Yay! I love comic book heroes and superhero stuff, but not necessarily my professional wrestling. The Hurricane was great. Molly Holly was great. This thing with Nikki Ash is not going well with fans. Again, times have changed, so that may be part of it. I love Nikki Cross, Nikki Ash, whatever her name is. Yeah, I mean, it just feels like this isn't working with her. They spoke about Connor's cure. They dedicated their match to anyone affected by pediatric cancer and anyone that has supported Connor's cure. So immediately, they kind of telegraphed that they may win the tag team titles here with that promo, because you're not going to have someone lose after cutting that promo. Rhea Ripley appeared to be very emotional during this. I know she kind of got some flack from people. I'm not, she's been getting some flack for not having some good promo skills on the main roster, which that I'll criticize here. And it may not all be her fault, but at the same time, it's like, giving her a hard time for feeling for kids, that I got no problem with that. It's nice to see some real emotion out of her, but at the same time, I don't think she needs to be happy, smiling Rhea Ripley either, because I don't think that fits her character. And again, here we go, copying another storyline. You got the Rhea Ripley character, who is more this dark, gothic type character, with the happy-go-lucky, almost a superhero. It's like Randy Orton and Riddle all over again. So we're copying storylines again from the same show even. It's like, and this is not the first time this has happened, as I mentioned earlier on. But there are other times it's blatantly obvious they've been copying stuff. So yeah, Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley then defeat Natalya and Tamina to win the women's tag team championships in 2.5 minutes. Again, 2.5 minutes for a tag match or a title match for that matter. So yeah, I mean, Nikki went for a tag, but Ripley had been knocked out. Natalya dropkicked Nikki while Tamina tried going after Ripley. Ripley gave Tamina a riptide on the apron while Nikki rolled up Natalya for the pinfall win. So Ripley and Nikki Ash are the new tag champions. They moved on from this very quickly. It could have been done a lot better, especially for these two to get a celebration here, but we got 3 hours to fill. We got a lot to go over, so we're moving on. I just don't know if I care about either of these two right now. Rhea Ripley has not been the same since Charlotte beat her at WrestleMania a couple years back, where Ripley should have gotten a win there for the NXT championship, I believe it was for. And ever since then, it's just Rhea's been on a downward spiral. And Nikki Ash, they've not booked her well either. I mean, she's been winning fluke wins and things like that. At least this one, it seems that she got straight up, without any help or any sort of fluky scenario. But at the same time, I just can't get into this at all, because they've not done anything to really make me care about either one of them. And it's a shame, really, because I like both talents, no doubt about it. Alexa's Playground was next. The ring was set up with the swing set, play horse, and a slide. Alexa Bliss introduced Charlotte Flair. Charlotte entered and mocked Bliss for barely being a competitor anymore. True words here by Charlotte, no doubt about it. Alexa Bliss called Charlotte the fun police. Bliss said she didn't have any tricks up her sleeve and noted how short her sleeves were. Bliss noticed that Charlotte didn't bring her Charlie doll, but not to worry, she had a new one for her. The crowd chanted for the doll. Stop encouraging this, please. That's just my opinion. Charlotte said she didn't want the doll, and the crowd booed. Charlotte wanted the old Bliss, the 5 feet of fury, the former champion. Charlotte called all of this an attempt to hide how fragile Bliss really was. Charlotte mentioned that they haven't crossed paths a lot because they've been on different brands. She wondered how she went from main eventing WrestleMania 35 to dealing with dolls. She went from beating the Nightmare to feuding with a child. Charlotte wondered if she should beat up Bliss now or wait until Sunday. Bliss mocked Charlotte for constantly bragging. True. It was true that Charlotte had won more titles than any other woman, but that also meant she had lost more than anyone. Thank you, Alexa. You're pointing out the obvious that, hello, everybody's noticed. Anytime you pad these stats, Charlotte, one reign lasted a day and she got beat by Nikki. It's like, these reigns for Charlotte don't mean much. A few of them might have actually meant something because, maybe a few of them lasted for a while. But a lot of these are like, all right, we got to get her numbers up so she can, be around Ric Flair's, 16-time world champion as a woman type thing. But when you do that, the reigns mean nothing. And that's the problem right now. Everything in this company needs to get some meaning to it. And until it does, smart fans, people with common sense, can't get into this because they know it's it's bad enough that most wrestling fans are hip to the fact, about everybody nowadays knows wrestling is scripted. I wouldn't necessarily call it fake because fake implies, none of these people get hurt or anything like that. It's like, oh, they're falling on a cloud. They're trained to fall. This is still real life physical contact, no doubt about it. But scripted, most people understand it's scripted. So it's bad enough that people already are on that. When you don't give title reigns or championships or, wins and losses meaning, characters don't have meaning, they have no storyline direction. Things like that is what fans want to see. And until you give that to them, they check out. And that's why over the last 7 years, your ratings have gone from 5 million viewers down to barely, 1.7, 1.5. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll hit the 2 million mark. You've lost that many viewers in 5, 6, 7 years' time. What's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years? Especially with another company like AEW, who is slowly but surely gaining viewers. You've got to start to understand you need to make these changes. Otherwise, you're going to start struggling. Now, you're not going to go out of business because you're making money hand over fist. But that has nothing to do with your creative product, your creative direction, or the quality of your programming. That's a whole different thing. And fans don't care about how much money. Some, smart marks will say, oh, but they're making more money than they ever have. Great. But you're not seeing any of that money. Why do you care as a fan? That's all that really matters is what the fans are watching here. That's all they care about. And until you start pleasing your fans more, you're going to have fans checking out in droves. And that's our concern. I love WWE. I want to see them get better so that does not happen. But I see the writing on the wall here if they don't start changing. There's going to be other companies now because WWE is no longer the only main player in the world of professional wrestling anymore. Whether you like AEW or not, you got to admit, they're doing something over there to attract people to watch their product. So there is that. Bliss didn't need to play games to expose Charlotte. Without the title on her shoulder, we didn't really know who Charlotte was. The crowd yelled, woo, and Charlotte posed, but Bliss said that chant didn't originally belong to her, which is interesting. They allowed that to go, because everything was going on with Ric Flair, but that's another story here. Which they conveniently edited Ric Flair out of the opening of the program, by the way. They replaced him with the Ultimate Warrior. Not a controversial fellow himself either, but, come on. But at the same time, so Charlotte said Bliss isn't the one who should be talking about originality. Bliss calls Charlotte a bitch and said Charlotte would be able to call her champion on Sunday. So that they got into a brawl, and Charlotte got the better of it. Charlotte ripped the head off of Charlie before going after Lily. Bliss saved Lily by knocking down Charlotte with a tornado DDT. I think this could be a good match if you keep the supernatural stuff not to just a minimum, but get rid of it altogether. Let Alexa, as Charlotte has been calling her out on, where's the competitor who wrestled? If you do that with Alexa, I think you could have a good Raw Women's Championship match on your hands. No doubt about that. Let's hope that's what they do. I want to see them use Alexa the way she used to be used because fans love Alexa. Much like they love Nikki Ash, I just don't think they like the gimmick that she's using right now. And I think that it would serve Alexa best to sooner rather than later get rid of this Fiend character, especially since Bray Wyatt is no longer a part of the company. There was a 24/7 segment in the back. Drake Maverick devised a plan with a net. Drew Gulak, Akira Tozawa, and R-Truth were trying to drop a net on Reginald to take the belt and so on. So it all failed as Reginald flipped around and Gulak wound up in the net instead, and they all looked around confused. It was funny, though, at one point. Reginald had flipped over a box, and R-Truth went to dive and get him. But R-Truth was literally like 3 seconds too late, so that was clever. R-Truth, very aware of where he was, and I thought that was very funny how R-Truth did that. But other than that, this 24/7 stuff probably needs to go away. It's not worked in 2 years or however long it's been now. Please just get rid of it. There's no sense for it being on this show. Damian Priest then joined commentary for the upcoming match, where Jeff Hardy defeated Sheamus. It was approximately 10 minutes long here, so good. At least it got some more time. Glad to see that. Hardy hit a twist of fate, but Sheamus got his knees up, which looked painful for Hardy. This looked like the end for Hardy, but he managed to roll up Sheamus for the pinfall win. Sheamus came up bleeding from the nose during the match because I guess he had taken off his mask. By winning this match, Jeff Hardy now has been added to the Priest versus Sheamus match for the U.S. title on Sunday. Jeff Hardy, who all he's really done lately was beat Karrion Kross. Again, why did you do that? There's no sense in that now because that went absolutely nowhere. So again, all you people who wait and see what the plan is, wait and see where they're going to take it. It's all about the storytelling is what somebody backstage said. I don't know why fans are getting so upset. This is why. Because Jeff Hardy beat Karrion Kross, Jeff got COVID, and now they're not following up on it. It's like, you might have had a plan or an idea, but you did nothing with it. So you ask us to get invested, and when fans complain, fans don't know what they want. No, that's not always the case. There are some fans who will flip on a dime, yeah. But most fans will give you the benefit of the doubt if you give them a follow-up to this story you started. But then you start the thing with Karrion Kross, and all of a sudden, done. And now Karrion's been hurt by it and probably won't recover on the main roster. Then they're going to say, oh, well, Karrion just don't have the it factor. He can't get over with the crowd. Because you buried him day one. Anyway, moving on. They plugged... So, yeah, I don't necessarily know why you're throwing Jeff Hardy into this triple threat match with Sheamus and Damian Priest. Damian Priest beat Drew McIntyre and, Sheamus at the same time. So Sheamus really has already lost another, potential opportunity. Now he's getting another opportunity. And now Jeff Hardy's getting another opportunity. I'm glad for Damian Priest, and let's hope that Damian Priest just beats both these guys and we move on. But Damian Priest's run here is unfortunately being marred with some of this other bad booking that they're just kind of, here's a challenger. But hopefully Damian Priest will come out of here looking like a rose, and that's all that we can hope for. They plugged tonight's triple threat match between Big E, Lashley, and Reigns, saying it's a match that we'll never see again. Doubt that one. It'll probably happen next week. Whatever they say, once in a lifetime. Ring a bell? Come on. They plugged Roman Reigns' match against Finn Balor at Extreme Rules, but there was no mention of Brock Lesnar or Crown Jewel. By the way, Finn Balor, who was not on this show, and the build for this Finn Balor match, it's kind of been of a, especially since it's the first one to happen between Balor, Brock, or Big E. The build for Finn Balor has been on the back shelf. There's really nothing to, he showed up as the Demon once, and then he did a video promo, and that's it. There's really been no other build outside of that. I would assume they'll do something on the Go Home show this Friday night on Smackdown, but otherwise, Finn Balor's has kind of been pushed to the side here, which tells you everything you need to know. Roman Reigns is going to win. Then we had the main event. Again, 20 minutes, good long match. These three guys worked their tails off, and this was a fun match to watch, but I still question the booking of it again, and that's the biggest problem here. Roman Reigns defeated Big E and Bobby Lashley. Even says it right there in the headline. Big E takes the loss. He was defeated. Granted, Bobby Lashley takes the pinfall here. Big E ducked a Superman punch and gave Reigns a big ending, but Lashley yanked Big E out of the ring. Lashley gave Big E a chokeslam right through the announce table. Lashley tried to spear Reigns, but Reigns hit a Superman punch for a near fall. The crowd chanted, "This is awesome." I'm sure the match was awesome. But again, you guys got to understand, one match doesn't mean that the whole show or where they're going is a good direction, okay? Don't be fooled by just one match. The match could be great. And you can say I'm being a stick in the mud all you want, but I also see wrestling can be better if you mold it for a longer term story than just one shot, hey, great match, cool, now what? So, yeah. Reigns tried to spear Lashley, but Lashley speared him first, and Big E just barely broke up the cover. Lashley tried to put Big E in the Hurt Lock, but Reigns hit a Superman punch. Big E followed by spearing Reigns out of the ring. Big E gave Reigns a big ending, but Lashley hit a Big E with the chair. I think the crowd was expecting the bell, but it's no disqualification because it's a triple threat. Lashley repeatedly hit Big E with the chair until he speared before he was speared by Reigns for the pinfall win. So Reigns pins Lashley. Very fun match here. It's also telling that Reigns won both the opener and the main event of the show. At the very least, Big E came across like a guy who very much belonged with Reigns and Lashley, so that's good. And again, we've talked about how you can get over in a loss. I would just prefer a WWE champion not lose. But that being said, Big E almost certainly should have picked up a win tonight, especially being only a week after. Why couldn't he have pinned Bobby Lashley? If you want to go with the argument that, well, Big E didn't get pinned, so it doesn't hurt Big E. Okay, if that's the case, why couldn't Big E pin Lashley? Does that hurt Roman? You don't see Roman taking the loss, do you? Whether it's by pin or not. Now, he has in tag matches and stuff, so you know. But at the same time, you didn't see Roman taking the loss here, did you? So, food for thought. All right, let's move on to NXT. This is a show where I'm just kind of like, who? So let's move through this rather quickly. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of people. It's going to take time for NXT 2.0 to get us invested in some of these people. And unfortunately, right now, it's just not working for me personally. Kind of WWE in general. Not only that, I like the old NXT. This NXT just feels main roster for me. The show begins with a recap of last week and the rebranding. The NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa opens the show for his first appearance since winning the title last Tuesday night. Ciampa gets into the ring and is filled with several of the new characters on the NXT television show, which includes Braun Breaker, Odyssey Jones, Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, Brooks Jensen, and Josh Briggs. Again, who? I mean, a few of these names we've seen, but a few of them we have not seen, or at least that I can recall. Ciampa seems very happy to be NXT champion, and Goldie is talking to him. Ciampa pauses to listen to Goldie. I've missed you too, he tells Goldie. Goldie is the NXT championship, which is all gold, so he calls her Goldie. I still wonder how long it'll be before NXT 2.0 with this new rainbow color scheme, this Nickelodeon color scheme, before they change the look of their championships. I'm still waiting on it. I'm not going to be surprised if it happens. Ciampa cuts a pep rally promo hyping up NXT 2.0 like he was the team captain. I got a feeling if Triple H wasn't still recovering from a cardiac event, he would probably be cutting this promo because this is a very Triple H-esque promo. The essence is he is the brand's top champion. At the conclusion of this promo, Ciampa declares that the NXT is the A show. No. And then he leaves the crowd in a chant proclaiming, "We are NXT," which is exactly what Hunter would say. So again, this is trying to get over the new brand. I understand that, or get over the rebranding, so to speak. But this is not the same NXT. This NXT is not the A brand. I would have argued NXT was the A brand before due to its pro wrestling, its booking, but even the booking has been shoddy over the last 6 months to a year since they moved to the USA Network or whenever it was. And I'm sure tonight we'll get into some of that as well. Cameron Grimes entered the scene. Grimes tells Ciampa that the championship is just the fuel Grimes himself needs for going to the moon. Grimes is interrupted by Joe Gacy, but LA Knight is out to interrupt Gacy and the rest of the crew assembled in the ring. Odyssey Jones thankfully tells Knight to shut up. Another interruption as Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland enter the ring to confront the group in the ring. Dunne looks around at a bunch of geezers who are all too scared to throw the first punch. In steps Ciampa to hit Dunne with a punch, causing a domino effect that results in a melee. A huge brawl that was a Gordon Soley Pierre Sixer. Ciampa and Breaker clear the ring as the last two standing. So here we are with Monday Night Raw booking. You got some people out there. Here comes somebody else. Here comes somebody else. It ends up in a brawl. And then we're going to set up a main event, or we're going to. It's WWE formulaic booking to start a show with a promo. Multiple interruptions, multiple theme music's hit, out comes this person, they want a title match, blah, blah. This is the problem. It's the same stuff. And like I said last week when we did our NXT 2.0 review show, my hope for this is that at least if you train the people up that you want to train them in the WWE style, you'll be doing that on NXT 2.0 now because that's what it is. It's the WWE style. So hopefully when they get called up to the main roster, they don't feel the need to change everything because they already created who they wanted. But at the same time, this just means that NXT 2.0 is just now the WWE third brand, basically. It's still their developmental brand. But we're watching Monday Night Raw. We're watching Smackdown on Tuesday nights. That's what this is, unfortunately. And to a lot of fans, it's going to turn them off because they liked NXT because it was different. It wasn't the same bright lights, bright colors, zooms, cuts during matches, 3D graphics, terrible booking, that sort of stuff. And unfortunately, that's what NXT 2.0 is falling into. And unfortunately, it's going to turn off a lot of people. I hate to say it. It really is. I had a terrible flashback to TNA when the show cut to the back as we got Kaylee Ray, Elektra Lopez, B-Fab, and one other woman were involved in a pull-apart brawl. Officials ran in to break up the scuffle. So Samoa Joe was brought in as an enforcer on the show a few months back. And, of course, now we've got, chaos running around again here on NXT. So great job, Joe. Good job. Braun Breaker grabs a microphone, and he says the audience wants to see this fight continue on. Breaker is the son of Rick, but he sounds like Scott Steiner. Breaker was addressing Dunn and Holland when he yells, "How about you two little bitches grow a set of balls and face me and Ciampa in a tag team match tonight?" So they teased Braun Breaker against Tommaso Ciampa at the end of last week's show after Ciampa won the belt with a little bit of a stare down as the show went off the air. And already we've got the formulaic Monday Night Raw of can they coexist as a tag team during this match? So can Braun Breaker and Ciampa coexist? So yeah, again, standard Monday Night Raw booking. So a wild opening to NXT, but up next is a title match. At least this is a match they kind of been building on the old NXT that they've paid off here a little bit, so that's good. And we'll probably be getting the same thing with Frankie Monet and Raquel Gonzalez next week, which they had to put off because this whole rebranding and everything like that, I assume. But yeah, Roderick Strong defeated Kushida to win the NXT Cruiserweight Championship here. Strong and company did cheat to win the title, though. Let's see here. Kushida fights back to block a superplex, and Kushida comes off the rope with an avalanche shoulder breaker. Strong soon answers back with backbreakers, a series of measured strikes by Strong, but Kushida counters while trying to hoverboard lock. Strong seems trapped in the submission hold when Malcolm Bivens puts Strong foot into the ropes. The referee is alerted to the foot on the ropes, and the hold is broken. The ref is further distracted by Malcolm Bivens. The Creed brothers proceed to pull Kushida out of the ring, I should say. Ivy Nile then hits Kushida with a Superman punch, I believe it was. The Diamond Mines send Kushida back into the ring, into the waiting arms of Strong. A falling backbreaker by Strong, and he covers Kushida for a pinfall. Strong and company steal the NXT Cruiserweight title here. So, again, it's kind of one of those deals where you could just beat Kushida clean then. I mean, I get Kushida. You probably don't want him to look weak. That's fine. But if he's dropping the belt, it's okay to, beat him. As long as Kushida has a good match and goes over, looks strong. But this here's like, all right, well, we don't want to bury Kushida, so let's have him get beat up by numerous men and women, apparently. I'm not a fan of it personally. I would rather Kushida just lost clean here and look strong and defeat. And Kushida would have still looked like a strong contender, much like, NXT booked it before. But right now, I'm not a fan of that. But anyhow, maybe it's a storyline they're going to play up down the line that Kushida, his belt was robbed from him. You could always do that. I don't know. But Roderick Strong is your new NXT Cruiserweight Champion. Grayson Waller interrupts the Diamond Mine celebration. Who? Never heard of this guy. He challenges Strong to a title match next week on NXT. An angry Malcolm Bivens consults with Strong, and Bivens accepts the challenge for next Tuesday. So, what did Grayson Waller do to earn an NXT Cruiserweight title? Explain that one to me. Again, that's Monday Night Raw booking. That's WWE booking. You don't have to earn squat. You just come out, ask for a championship match, and okay, go ahead. This is why we get frustrated as pro wrestling fans with this WWE brand, because there's no rhyme or reason or logic or common sense to it. And here we go. Now it's affecting our NXT show. Tony D'Angelo is in another vignette hyping himself up as a mafia figure. I'm still not sure where I fall with this Tony D'Angelo gimmick. It could be really good or it could be really terrible. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. In a different vignette, Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs tell the story of how they met at a bar. They got into a fight, beat the heck out of each other, and they have been close friends ever since. Very heartwarming story between these two. I guess if you're going to meet and become friends, I guess that's one way to go about it. So we'll see where these two go. Kaylee Ray then defeated Amari Miller. Miller got an inset promo before the match, but not much else during it. Ray wins handily with a gory bomb, and Ray pinned Miller. They're doing these inset promos. It feels like 1990s superstars, WWF superstars back in the day. So in that regard, I kind of appreciate the aesthetic because I grew up on those shows. But at the same time, it's not pro wrestling today. But at the same time, it's different. So I'm not going to hurt that. I kind of like it. So we'll see what they do with that. Braun Breaker is backstage, and he is pumped up to team with Ciampa tonight. There is some underlying tension with Ciampa being the champ, though. Then we had an unnamed mean guy with manners arrived to the building with 2 women. He opens the door for them, but some geek tries to cut ahead of the women. The mean guy is upset by the geek's lack of manners, so the mean guy beats up the other guy. Interesting. I don't know what that's all about, but all right. Then we had Dante Chen. He defeated Trey Baxter. Again, Trey Baxter, I know the name. I believe he was in the breakout tournament, if I remember correctly. So why are you beating him with a guy we never heard of? Chen wins in a very short match. Baxter was looking strong, but Chen came back with a small package. Chen transitions from the cradle into a guillotine choke bomb. Chen then covers Baxter for a 3 count. So, okay. Again, you need to, if you're going to reset everything like this, you really got to do a lot of work in telling us who these people are, why we should care. And you've got that problem on the main roster anyway with names we already know. You're going to introduce a bunch of names we don't know. You better do some work here on NXT 2.0. Andrew Chase, he was the best thing we know him from is from the Index wedding last week, by the way, which again was amazing. Go check out our review for that here on the NXT 2.0 review that we did as well. That was one of the best weddings I've ever seen in pro wrestling in general, in my opinion. Andrew Chase is doing some sort of upgraded Dean Douglas gimmick. He was teaching a class of students at what he calls Chase University. The first lesson was on Odyssey Jones losing in the finals of the breakout tournament. A student named Steve asked a question in pointing out that Chase lost to Jones in the semifinals of the tournament. Chase flips out and starts cursing at the student. Chase throws things around and he kicks the student out of his class. So, okay. Again, I guess it's the start of a new gimmick. Cool. But we'll see where this goes. I suppose that's all I can really say about it till now until we get a little bit more info on it. The announcers offer well wishes to Triple H on his recovery from surgery. Absolutely. My feelings on NXT notwithstanding, Triple H, loved him growing up. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. We hope nothing but the best for him and his, recovery from his heart. I don't know if it was surgery or whatever he had, his heart procedure that he had to fix whatever was going on with his ticker there. So hopefully he's doing well, and all the best to the game, no doubt about that. Hopefully he can come back and influence some of this booking, in my opinion, because Triple H, in my opinion, is the hope for WWE eventually. Let's hope that maybe one day he'll get to run some more shows again. I very seriously doubt he's running NXT now. I know a lot of people were trying to say, reports that, oh, no, Shawn Michaels ran last week. Or, Triple H, he's still in charge. I'm sorry, you can't convince me that this is not a Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, Kevin Dunn production. Just watch the show. It's not Triple H anymore. It hasn't been for a while. I'm sorry. I don't buy those reports. I just don't. And until, things kind of get better with the booking side of things, I can't buy it. I'm sorry. I just can't. So, but you're entitled to your opinion. That's fine. That's my opinion. I don't believe Triple H or Shawn. They may be in name only running this, much like Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman were creative directors on Raw and SmackDown. Do we remember that? And then they got abruptly fired, and now look who's running Raw and SmackDown. Vince and Bruce Pritchard. Just saying. All right. Then we got Cameron Grimes. He defeated Joey Gacy here. Grimes pinned Gacy in a very short match again. Just another short match. Good while it lasted, though. Love Cameron Grimes. I'm kind of wondering where they're going to go with him, though, at this point. Grimes was on fire until Gacy cut him off. Grimes recovered quickly, but Gacy does a handspring off the ropes into a lariat that levels Grimes. Gacy went to capitalize, but Grimes out of nowhere delivers a cave-in double stomp. Grimes goes on to cover Gacy for a pinfall. Gacy hugs Grimes after the match, though, so... Yeah, Cameron Grimes, it just seems like ever since the LA Knight feud ended, just kind of there. I hate to say it, and I love Cameron Grimes. Part of it's the rebrand, maybe. I don't know, but I hope they do more with him because Cameron Grimes is one of the best things NXT has, and so does LA Knight, but they beat him twice last week, kind of like they beat Big E. Granted, Big E didn't get pinned, I suppose you could say, but LA Knight got pinned twice last week, so I don't know what they're going to do with LA Knight there. Highlights from the wedding last week, the honeymoon of Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell will feature next week on NXT. So definitely looking forward to that. That was one of the best things of the new NXT 2.0 show last week. So definitely looking forward to seeing how their honeymoon went. That could be comedy gold. Please do that well. Elektra Lopez with Legado del Fantasma defeated Anna Shear. Lopez was a bully in the match as she won easily after a sit-out powerbomb. Lopez pinned Shear to win the match. So again, very short, very sweet. Trying to get Elektra Lopez over, cool. But again, we don't know any of these people, so it's going to take time. I'm hoping it'll get better, but right now there's part of me just doesn't really care. Santos Escobar in a post-match promo put over Lopez, saying she completes Legado del Fantasma. Lopez then says what she did tonight was just a taste of what she will unleash on B-Fab and the rest of the NXT 2.0 roster. Lopez calls out B-Fab. The theme music for Hit Row, Hit Row. How was that? Yeah. It played in the arena, and the male members of Hit Row walked down the entrance ramp. It was a distraction. B-Fab hit the ring after coming through the crowd, and B-Fab attacked Lopez. They brawl in the ring. And that was that. So setting up that match, and this Hit Row Legado del Fantasma thing to me is, you would think it would eventually lead to, Swerve Scott defending his title against Santos Escobar for the North American Championship. But if it's slow booking, fine. I'm fine with that. Part of me just kind of wonders, I hope they didn't forget about that, because to me, that's kind of the end goal, I would think. But we'll see how this goes. These two factions are definitely been feuding for a while now. Trey Baxter was backstage, and he was down in the dumps over his loss earlier in the show. His girlfriend, Cora Jade, tries to cheer him up. Says he kisses him. But I'm pretty sure it meant she kisses him. But anyhow, and he seems to feel better about things after the kiss, though. So, aw. But again, who's Cora Jade? I don't know who this. I have no idea who this person is. But anyhow, yeah. So there's that. Frankie Monet confronts NXT Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez. Their title match is now scheduled for next week on NXT. Someone named Lash Legend, who also says she is debuting next week on Tuesday in a talking segment similar to Piper's Pit. So, again, can you tell me the last time that NXT had a talk show segment on the show? Anybody? Anybody in the back? No? Nobody? No? Yeah, I can't either. So, again, people want to say Triple H, Shawn Michaels are running the show like they always have. Why are we getting talk show segments on NXT now? Lash Legend. Who is that, first of all? Yeah, so I don't know if this is something that we need for sure, but we're going to be getting it. And I'm sorry, comparing it to Piper's Pit, none of the talk shows that we've had. Granted, Piper's Pit is kind of the pinnacle of talk shows, and we've had, Miz TV, for years. We've had the KO show. Jericho had one. Come on. There's been thousands over the years, seems like. It's a wrestling trope, and I get some companies do it, but it's something you don't need to do, especially with your talent you should be using as wrestlers, not talk show personalities. Thank you very much. All right. Then we had Odyssey Jones wins a 2-on-1 handicap match, because Odyssey Jones is a mountain of a man. Odyssey Jones won a handicap match very easily. Jones was no match for two men, or at least no match for these two unnamed jobbers. I think it was a little weird. But Jones with a splash off the top rope on both before he wins via pinfall. And Andre Chase tries to attack Jones after the match. Chase was swinging a chair, but Jones took it from him. Chase then begs off and leaves the ring as Jones stands tall. I'm sorry, the one dude I am not going to try to jump is Odyssey Jones. Just look at that man. Chair or not, forget it, bub. Just take a hike. All right. So I guess we're going to be getting that match here at some point, and I'm sure Jones will absolutely crush Chase. So we'll see what happens. Ikemen Jiro is featured in a vignette. Yeah, so this guy is definitely something. The way he had the ring in his coat, and he's just like, yeah, holding his coat wide open at the wedding. This guy is something else. So we'll see if they do something with him. He may be their next comedy act, but we'll have to wait and see how they play that off. Then we had a trio in the ring, Mandy Rose, Gigi Dolan, and JC Jane. They are now known as Toxic Attraction. So we had them in the ring for a promo here. Mandy Rose turned heel because of the fans, she said, again, blaming the fans. Now she and the other two do not give a damn about what you think. Behind the beauty is a beast. Dolan says the pain of her past fuels her aggression. She and Jane need purpose, which is where Rose comes in. Together, the trio is headed to the top of NXT. JC Jane says Toxic Attraction aren't just pretty faces. They won't just sit back and wait for an opportunity. What they want is the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. Jane promises an ass-kicking for the current champs. The champs Zoe Stark and Io Shirai are backstage. Shirai accepts the challenge on behalf of the team. The title match is seemingly set for next week on NXT. The champs bicker amongst themselves when Persia Pirotta confronts them. Perota says when Indy Hartwell returns from her honeymoon, she wants to regain her tag titles. Seemingly, this means Perota is Hartwell's new tag partner. So, intriguing. We'll see where that goes. But looks like we've got a tag team championship match here for the women's belts here on NXT next week. And we'll see who gets that, if they're going to keep them on Shirai and Stark, or you give them to the new trio here of Toxic Attraction. So we've got 3 title matches announced for next week. The women's tag, the women's championship with Frankie Mena and Gonzalez. And then, of course, the NXT Cruiserweight title, Roderick Strong in his first title defense against Grayson Waller, who did not earn the opportunity, but we're going to have it anyway. Then we have the main event. Braun Breaker and NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa then defeated Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland here. Braun Breaker pinned Holland to win the match for his team. Kyle O'Reilly ran in to interfere in the match, which set up the finish. So, yeah, I mean, I thought, to me, personally, Braun Breaker looked really good in this match. Now, the fact that they're not willing to really want to, acknowledge the fact that he's Rick Steiner's son is one thing to me. I think his name sucks, too, by the way. Much like Anthony Ogogo and AEW, we've had that conversation where I feel like that name is not really good either, even though that's his real name. Braun Breaker is not his real name. Braun Breaker just sounds like a Vince McMahon creation. Braun Breaker. That's what it sounds like to me. But that notwithstanding, Braun Breaker looked good here. He actually does have some talent. There's no doubt about that at all. He even had some old Scott Steiner moves, I think, in here. I wonder what his math is like, though. I wonder if it's as good as Scott's. But anyhow, Holland gives Ciampa an overhead belly-to-belly suplex, and then Breaker gives Dunn an overhead belly-to-belly. Breaker and Holland face off like two bulls colliding in the ring. They hit each other with lariats, but neither sell it. Gorilla Monsoon would surely have called this the unstoppable force against the immovable object. Double down after both clothesline the other. The heels tried to use a club, but Ciampa jumped in to make a save. Nevertheless, Ciampa is soon knocked out of the ring, and Breaker went to press slam Dunn, but Holland rakes the eyes. Kyle O'Reilly then ran down to ringside. O'Reilly grabbed the club, and he hit Holland with Holland's own club. O'Reilly rolled Holland back into the ring for the finish. Meanwhile, Ciampa gives Dunn a Willow's Bell, and Breaker with a gorilla press into a power slam on Holland, and Breaker covers Holland for the 3 count here. So this is continuing the feud with Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland with Kyle O'Reilly, no doubt about it. So at least they're following up on that from last week and why they took O'Reilly out of the match. So good for that, no doubt about it. That's good to continue that going. At least they didn't forget that happened, so kudos to that. And it gets Braun Breaker a win here. So at least they're doing a good job of building Braun Breaker. I feel like a part of me feels like they got the belt on Ciampa because Ciampa is very symbolic of the old NXT. And I feel like if Braun Breaker wins that belt off Ciampa, which I definitely predict is going to happen whenever that title match takes place, it kind of feels like it'll be the last nail in the coffin for the old NXT brand. But that's just my one man's opinion here on YouTube. But I just feel like it's going to be a symbolic passing of the torch, so to speak. But Braun Breaker definitely looks to have the stuff, so we'll see what he can do here. But overall, good main event. I think that they had some good work here with these 4 individuals, and then we'll see where they go with O'Reilly and Dunn and Holland. All right, let's move into what I consider the biggest show of the week and perhaps I wouldn't say the year for AEW. I thought All Out was definitely more, obviously a bigger show. But for a Dynamite show, this was actually really good here. As AEW Dynamite Grand Slam here from Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York. The show opened up with the match that we've all been waiting to see. Many fans have been calling a dream match for many, many years now. Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. The match went to a time limit draw, 30-minute draw here. But regardless of that, this match was spectacular, top to bottom. The crowd was into it from the opening jump. Bryan Danielson was clearly very excited with the crowd reaction as he's standing in the ring. He's smiling from ear to ear, and you look across the ring, and Kenny Omega is very straight-faced, and he literally said the words, "I don't give a shit." Like he's trying to draw it up, but he still is having a hard time not cracking a smile. I ain't gonna lie. But these two guys put on a wrestling clinic. All I can say about this match is definitely go check it out. Now, many fans are trying to compare this to, when we get on to WWE for hot shotting Big E the title or hot shotting that triple threat match on Monday Night Raw, they hot shot. This was always the plan. That's the difference. Ever since they knew Bryan Danielson was going to be coming into AEW, they planned to have this match with Kenny Omega. Like the finish. The finish was a time limit draw. This plan was put into place with Adam Hangman Page out with his wife, on maternity leave, and they're having a new child and everything like that. The plan was to always have Bryan Danielson go up against Kenny Omega to start the feud. Yeah, I know. But at the same time, if they'd have booked a winner here, it would have been worse. But because they booked a time limit draw, not only that, they were having a banger of a match. The crowd wanted to see this continue, wanted to see a winner. So now you've got the fans wanting to see more. You see what they're doing here? And when we have this rematch, where it could be at Full Gear in November or whenever AEW decides to do this, I still wonder where Adam Hangman Page is going to fit in here in the world title picture here, because obviously it should be Adam Hangman Page, in my opinion, to still take the title off of Kenny Omega when the time comes. Not Bryan Danielson. I've still got to get used to calling him that. However, now you've got time, because this was non-title. Bryan Danielson did not earn a title match yet. They made a point to even say that. So putting them here one-on-one, just a dream match between two of wrestling's greatest talents in the world today, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with the Kenny Omega thing or whatever you want to call it. But putting him in the ring here, there's nothing wrong with this booking. And you draw out the time limit draw. That way, when we see them again, we'll get a finish, and the fans will be happy. So I think this is perfect. And now you've got time to build Bryan Danielson, get him some wins, build his record up, and then he will earn the shot at Kenny Omega again. Kenny Omega has already said on Twitter, there will be no rematch. Because he's a heel. That's what he's going to say. He's like, I have nothing to prove. Of course, he's going to try to duck out of the title match because he knows that Bryan Danielson can get him, right? So he's going to do that to try to duck out. But then Bryan's going to earn. He's going to have to claw and fight his way. The underdog story, which Bryan Danielson has exceeded at for many years in other companies, right? So it makes perfect sense. They're playing on the underdog story with Bryan Danielson. So he's going to build and build and build, and he's going to finally get the title match against Kenny Omega. And when he does, yeah. So, but again, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Adam Hangman Page here. So, yeah, and even if they don't do it for the title again against Kenny, you could still do it conceivably without the belt. You could still have him build and build and build. Kenny keeps ducking him, and Bryan Danielson, eventually, Kenny can't duck him no more, and they have the singles match again. Maybe it's not for the title. I still don't think you put the title on Bryan Danielson for maybe a year or more. Not anytime soon. Let Adam Hangman Page have it, and then you could do something later on. But there are ways to do this, and it'll be just fine. So I have no problem with this booking. To me, it was absolutely great to kind of get you to want you see more here. After the match, the Young Bucks and Adam Cole ran out as Danielson and Omega continued to fight. The Bucks crushed Danielson with a double super kick. Actually, I think it was triple. Adam Cole, they all three hit him with a super kick as he was down in the corner. But then Christian Cage and the Jurassic Express ran out to send the Elite packing, which sets up their match on Rampage Grand Slam coming up here on Friday night. So again, furthering that storyline. So again, all this had storyline purpose. That's the thing I love about AEW right now. Their storylines, everything they do on television, you may not like a segment here or there, you may not like this or that, but it all builds to something coming up, and they don't forget what they already put on television the next week. Everything they do has a narrative reason behind it, which gives it meaning. That's what pro wrestling's all about. It's suspending your disbelief, yes, but it's also suspending your disbelief and making us believe that what they're doing is real. That's the key. You can suspend your disbelief with anything if you want to, but it helps when you can actually let your mind wander and say, oh, this is real. It's like watching a movie. When the movie can draw you in and where you forget it's a film and you're watching drama, that's the most important thing. Wrestling is a lot the same way, or a lot of the same sort of things. So that's what I love about AEW here. So we'll see how all this plays out, but a good setup to get this going. There was also a great running V trigger here. There were Omega ran down the ramp and nailed Bryan Danielson with it as well. Just a great match all the way around. A nice dragon suplex off the top rope. I mean, there's some great stuff in this, so definitely go check it out. Both, Bryan Danielson's chest looked like hamburger meat after all the chops he was taking. Great match, and I can't wait to see these two go at it again, probably sometime in the coming months. Then we had CM Punk. He come out for a promo. This was just kind of like, let's get the crowd to cool down a little bit, after the big match. Punk said he's glad he's not wrestling on Dynamite because literally, how do you follow that, quote unquote? He's something he didn't want the responsibility to have to do here. He said it's been a long time since he's been in New York City, and even longer since pro wrestling has been there, which is interesting. It's a little bit of a dig at WWE. I know people are upset at AEW for constantly bringing up WWE in their promos and stuff. Now, he never mentioned them by name here, but everybody knows that Smackdown was just in Madison Square Garden like a week or so ago. So, again, a little bit of a dig there. And I understand why Punk's unhappy with the company that he was used to work for. I have no doubt about that. I mean, he sounds like he's got legitimate gripes, in my opinion. So there's that. The fans want the old CM Punk. Be careful what you wish for. He tried to come out here and mean mug, but he's just so happy to see everybody here that he can't help but smile. It's been so long since Punk's been here that he gets pissed off because nobody can take this from him. As for Team Taz and Powerhouse Hobbs, they should have put him through the table and finished the job last week. But it's his job to wake them up, and it's not his job to wake them up. It's his job to tuck them back in. And at Rampage Grand Slam, Powerhouse Hobbs is going to go to sleep. So this was a good promo, no doubt about it. And everybody's talking about they want the old CM Punk. I got a feeling that he might actually have a little bit of an attire change that might bring out some of the old CM Punk vibes. So we'll see what happens here, but I don't want to ruin that. This is something I did hear about on Rampage, though. So we'll see what happens because they did film it ahead of time, but I don't want to spoil anything here. MJF then came out and he defeated Brian Pillman Jr. here. So MJF kind of gets a win here after he took the loss to Chris Jericho at All Out. And again, this is one of those segments where Brian Pillman Jr. looked good in defeat, and it's not going to hurt him a bit. He's not being buried or anything like that. It's not like MJF's burying a young guy. MJF is a young guy in himself, but again, this is proper booking for building your talent and things like that. Pillman looked to hit a dive, but MJF pulled Julia Hart, who was outside supporting Brian Pillman Jr. He pulled Julia Hart into the way and used the distraction to hit a clothesline. MJF and Hart exchanged words, but that distraction allowed Pillman to hit a diving dropkick on MJF. Pillman went for a springboard upon re-entry to the ring, but MJF caught it and turned it into the salt of the earth submission armbar and forcing Pillman to submit. So MJF also pretty much gets a clean win here outside of maybe pulling Julia Hart into the fray here. Wardlow didn't get involved, so good. I'm glad to see MJF get a good win here, and we need to get maybe MJF on TV getting some wins a little bit more here to kind of back up all his talk. So I definitely like that. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager were asked about Dan Lambert and the Men of the Year. Hager said Men of the Year, more like Boys of the Week. I ain't gonna lie, Jake Hager's promo skills are not real good, which is why he usually has Jericho do the talk for him, which is a smart thing. Jericho challenged Lambert to bring America's Top Team to Rampage, so they're going to have a tag match there on the show at Grand Slam for Rampage Grand Slam, so that'll be fun as well. Rampage Grand Slam also has some good matches as well. Then we get Malachi Black. He comes out to the ring to thunderous applause here and cheers. Malachi Black, interesting though, as Cody walked out to the ring for his match with Malachi Black here. We got Arn Anderson come out, and then the returning Brandy Rhodes came out looking great as ever after having a baby, so good for her. Cody's wearing his long blue cape that rolled all the way down to the ramp. Looked like there's a character on The Boys. I can't remember the character's name, but he's kind of like an evil version of Captain America. I think I've never seen the show, but I know it's kind of popular right now. So again, I know a lot of people criticize Cody Rhodes. I understand he's beaten some guys when he was TNT champion, but you got to understand too, Cody Rhodes is also, as much criticism as Cody is taking right now. I know fans maybe are sometimes a little tired of the gimmick or the shtick he's got going on, and they're like, oh, he just beats all the people who come in. He's beaten some, no doubt about it. He beat Darby for the TNT title. I think he beat Brody Lee, but you got to remember, Brody Lee then turned around and beat him. You got to remember, too, Cody Rhodes is doing just about everything he can. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have AEW. He's one of the reasons, including with Kenny and the Bucks and Tony Khan, that we have All Elite Wrestling right now. So you got to give him respect for that. Cody also has a stipulation now because of what happened with MJF that he cannot challenge for the AEW World Title. So there's that. Plus, he has had people beat him. Malachi Black has now beat him twice. Brody Lee beat him for the TNT title in that infamous segment. So, I mean, there are times that Cody has been putting people over as well. So, what more do you want out of the guy? I get it if you don't like the character, fine. But to criticize Cody Rhodes, I think is a little too far. He did come out to thunderous boos here, and everything he did during this match, he was getting booed. Again, if you want to boo him, cool. But, and maybe the character is a little stale right now. Maybe he needs to change that up. I still think he ought to go heel now. Capitalize on this boo. Listen to your audience, unlike WWE for years when they booed Roman Reigns. They just, no, we're going to push him as a babyface. I think Cody and Tony Khan and AEW need to be smart enough to understand that Cody is getting booed viscerally right now, or whatever it might be, really, really, really thick right now. It'd be a perfect time to pull that trigger, even though I know Cody said, I'll never go heel, I'll retire before I go heel. You could play on that all you want, but I think he's kind of playing the fans a little bit there. Hopefully he's just saying that, and then when he turns heel, he went heel, Maybe. I don't know. But we'll see. I just feel like the hate that Cody Rhodes is getting right now is a little unjustified, in my opinion. But that's one man's opinion. But anyway, Cody caught a kick and went for a crossroads again that Malachi Black kicked out of, by the way. Black escaped, but Cody then hit the Cody Cutter and crossroads for a great near fall. Arn got on the apron. Yeah, Arn Anderson was trying to get on the apron, but then he tried to go around the corner post, and when he did, he kind of lost his footing and fell. Unfortunately, the camera tried its best to kind of not show it, but we saw him fall. It was an unfortunate thing. It was not planned. He looked rather embarrassed about it, but he did get back up on the apron. That's when Malachi Black whipped Cody into Arn, forcing Cody to go back and check on him after Arn fell to the ground on purpose this time. Arn then got angry at Cody and told him to get back in the ring and fight because he's like, what are you checking on me for? Go fight your opponent. And so Cody obliged. Back in the ring, Cody laid in some corner strikes. He wouldn't break at the referee's request and eventually shoved the official out of the way. So a heel-like tactic from Cody Rhodes. So again, laying those seeds possibly. We may be seeing Cody losing his edge here. And he kind of played with that a little bit a few months back when he dyed his hair dark. And he was maybe going to go heel, but then they kind of pulled back on it. So I kind of wonder if maybe they're going to kind of go back to it. We'll see. But yeah, it's a little confusing about what they've been doing with Cody a little bit. But anyway, so Black used the distraction to spray mist into the mouth, from his mouth into Cody's face, and rolled Cody up for the win. So like a black mist, looked like almost like a black goo type that he was spraying in his face. So it caused Cody to lose here. So now Malachi Black is 2-0 on Cody Rhodes. So again, Cody put Malachi over. Oh, he didn't put Malachi over clean. He did the first time. So let's not forget that. Cody's doing his best here. I mean, he's kind of in a no-win scenario here because everybody knows he's an executive vice president. Oh, he's just booking himself to win. Kenny Omega's just booking himself to win the AEW World. Kenny Omega is also one of the best wrestlers in the world today. You'd be insane not to put the belt on him at some point. Cody, I still think, could be world championship material if they could get out of that stipulation, but I don't think Cody will ever do that probably. Especially right now is not the time for it. Maybe if the crowd eventually fell back in love with Cody, and maybe you could do that. But, I mean, the Young Bucks were tag team champions, and they dropped the belts. Now, look, they got them on Lucha Brothers. Kenny's going to drop the belt to probably their next superstar in Adam Hangman Page, and everybody's going to have to eat their words. So it's going to be fine, okay, everybody? Everybody likes to get all mad because they're in power. They're just pulling a Hulk Hogan and booking him. Not necessarily, guys. All right, they're trying to build a company. You have to have name recognition. That's why they put the belt on Jericho to start out, to build the company. So it's going to be okay, guys. Don't worry. Sammy Guevara called out Miro for attacking a defenseless man. Miro called him a fool. Next week, they will face off for the TNT Championship. When Guevara wins, he's buying Fuego del Sol a new car, he said. I got to admit, I kind of miss hearing Miro talk about his smoking hot wife. It's not really been happening in the last couple of weeks. Bring that back, please, Miro. Don't stop doing that because can't wait to see Lana or CJ Perry here in AEW. Sting and Darby Allin then defeated FTR with Tully Blanchard on the outside. FTR was wearing some NWO black and white looking trunks. Obviously, the New Day has been wearing some NWO Wolfpack red and black, with the NDR, New Day Rocks. FTR in the black and white. So I kind of like that little stuff that they've been doing there. Sting dispatched Cash and hit a spinebuster on Dax for a 2 count. FTR wanted the spike pile driver on Darby Allin, but Sting sent Cash packing and landed a diving crossbody on Dax. Dax rolled up Sting for a good near fall. He went for a tombstone pile driver, but Sting reversed it into a scorpion death drop position. Interesting, because we all wanted to see Undertaker versus Sting at one point. Never got it. They kind of gave us a little bit of a tease at that with the tombstone pile driver being reversed into a scorpion death drop position. So interesting little callback there. Darby Allin looked for a coffin drop, but Cash cut it off. Sting landed a stinger splashes on both opponents and a scorpion death drop on Cash. Dax and Tully tried to bait him into splashing a chair, but Sting had it scouted and locked on the scorpion death lock. Tully Blanchard also got a punch for his efforts here as well. Cash tried to pull his partner to the ropes during the scorpion death drop, or death lock, I should say, but Darby Allin cut him off with a coffin drop on the apron. That looked like it sucked on Cash Wheeler's part. It sucked for Darby too, but it broke up the trying to break up the submission hold, and Sting pulled Dax to the center of the ring for the submission. So good match here. Sting still seems to be defying the odds here at 2 years old, I think. So he looked great here as well. I think using Steve in this manner is the right way to use Sting. Again, I'm glad to see him and Darby, doing well together. At some point, I still feel like Sting could maybe, separate from Darby and let Darby go on his own here. Kind of like what Sammy Guevara looks like he's going to start doing, breaking a little bit away from the inner circle, chasing Miro for the TNT title here. I think eventually that's what they'll do with Darby. But for right now, though, Sting and Darby are having great tag team matches together. And I don't think they're going to beat the Lucha Brothers or anything like that. So I wouldn't, let's not get carried away with the tag title conversation. But it's good to see here, and it was a fun match to watch, no doubt about it. They recap Britt Baker and Ruby Soho's promo from last week's Rampage. And then we got a special look at Rose to the Top. I kind of wonder how this show is going to perform with everybody's current dislike of Cody Rhodes and Brandy right now, so we'll see. But then again, The Miz was a heel with Maurice, and Miz and Mrs. was successful, so we'll see how this show does. But I don't know if it's a show that I'll particularly watch myself. But then we had the AEW Rampage Grand Slam lineup: CM Punk's versus Powerhouse Hobbs, a lights-out match with Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer and then we have Lucha Brothers and Santana Ortiz versus Private Party and Butcher and Blade, Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford, Adam Cole and the Young Bucks versus Christian Cage and Jungle Express, and of course Chris Jericho and Jake Hager versus the Men of the Year. So 6 big matches for Rampage, a 2-hour episode on Friday, September 24th, so go check it out for sure. And then next week's Dynamite on September 29th, the TNT Championship, Miro will defend against Sammy Guevara. I would not be surprised if Sammy wins that belt, so we'll see what happens. Then we had the main event and the final match to go over here on this show, as my voice is starting to go. AEW World's Women's Championship, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, defeated Ruby Soho here to retain her Women's Championship here. Not going to lie, there was at least 1 or 2 spots in this match it looked like their timing was a little off, and maybe, things just wasn't clicking very well. But for the most part, I thought they had a decent match between the two here. They fought on the top rope where Baker hit a nasty avalanche air raid crash for a near fall. Baker stomped Soho's face on the steps and hit the curb stomp for yet another near fall. She argued with the officials' count, and Soho rolled her up for a very close near fall. Soho hit the no future on Baker and Rebel, but the distraction allowed Hayter to attack and then Baker to take advantage with the lockjaw to retain. So a little bit of the numbers game here. Not a big fan of, distraction finishes or interferences at all, for that matter. But obviously, I don't think anybody expected Britt Baker to lose the belt here, no doubt about that. But I think Ruby Soho is going to have a long story career here in AEW, no doubt about it. I'm glad they at least took the last couple weeks or whatever since All Out to build up Ruby Soho to get her some wins to earn this opportunity. She hasn't been in AEW very long. I kind of felt like maybe you could have held this title match off for a little bit longer. But they're kind of in a situation a little bit like WWE sometimes when it comes to their women's division. They don't have a whole lot of contenders lined up for this belt. Thunder Rosa, obviously, I think is on the docket, but I've heard they may be wanting to wait to do that early in 2022, so we'll have to see what they do. But Ruby Soho was a good contender here. I'm glad they at least tried to make it look like she earned it with 3. She had a 3-0 record, I believe, coming into this match. And, of course, she won the Women's Casino Battle Royale to earn the opportunity. So at least they tried to make it look like that. I just kind of felt like maybe a longer build would have been better. But at the same time, I'm glad to see Britt retaining here. But the question remains, who's going to challenge Britt? and who's going to take the belt from her. I don't think anytime soon anybody necessarily needs to take the belt from her. She's still kind of relatively young in her reign here, so I'd like to see at least last into 2022 before she loses the belt, and that's probably the way it's going to be. And it looks like Thunder Rosa could be that candidate, but we'll just have to wait and see what they do, because remember, Thunder Rosa beat Britt Baker, but it was a non-sanctioned match, so it technically does not count on the AEW record books, so they can play into that fact, and hopefully that's where they take this at some point. All right, guys, so that will do it for my wrestling recap show here for the week, for all these big shows that happened throughout the week in WWE and AEW. I apologize again for having this video up a little bit late here, but again, we've been hectic here with the work schedule that me and Brandon have been on, and hopefully next week we'll have Brandon back here on the show as well. But if you're finding us for the very first time, please comment down below. Let us know what you guys thought about all these shows, and of course what you thought about our review here. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and please hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And until my next video, guys, take care. We about to turn it on.